Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is our December 14th, 2015 business meeting for the Milford Board of Education. We could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So before we move on to our agenda and before we hear the musical selections from the Jonathan Law High School Choral Ensemble, I would just like to take a minute to say how saddened we all are by the death of our colleague, John DeRosa, and to acknowledge his contribution to the board over the past 2 years. John brought a passion to his role as a board member, and he certainly kept us all on our toes. He was a man who clearly loved his animals, as I've learned, loved God, loved his family, and loved his community. As was said at his memorial service, his was a life well lived and a legacy well left, and we will certainly miss him. I would like to offer a moment of silence for John tonight so that we can each remember him in our own way. Thank you. So tonight we have the pleasure of hearing from the Jonathan Law Choral Ensemble led by Ms. Rosati, and they're here to entertain us this evening. Thank you very much.
Are from our concert, which will be held at Jonathan Law tomorrow night at 7 p.m., A Winter Walk and Carol of the Bells.
Crunching snow in moon's bright light, come hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale. Yea, they ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. On his hand, on with that end, their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong, ding dong.
I understand this is your advanced choir?
Yes, this is the advanced vocal ensemble by audition only. It's a great select group that we have working together, so it's really special.
Lovely. Thank you so
really
much.
excellent.
Thank you.
We have some other student recognitions?
Yes.
So I'd like to actually call up some members of the Durham High swim team. I understand that not everyone can be here, but Ava Corsi, is she here? And Sarah Fitzgerald, Erica Hansen, and Hannah Buckley, I understand, is not able to be here, but she needs also to be recognized. So these 4 young women have achieved something pretty special. You want to come over here? That's all right.
Easier to swim.
So they are part of the foreign Class S swimming state champs. We only bring state champs. And in attendance, I know that we have Mr. Brennan, who's the assistant principal at Foreign, and we have our athletic director, Mr. Vitale. And I understand that we also have Coach Scott is here, yes? Oh, sorry, I'm looking in the back row. That's great. So we want to congratulate these 4 young women for what they've achieved on the team. So as I said, they had an amazing showing at the Class S State Championship, which was held on November 17th at Wesleyan University. Not only did Foreign come away state champions in the 200 free relay team event, 7 school records were broken at this meet by some of these swimmers. So I'd like to highlight for you the accomplishments of the members of this year's successful 200 free relay team state champs. So all 4 were on the relay team, correct? Okay. And if you know anything about relay, it takes all 4 to win. Absolutely, positively. So Hannah, who could not be here, is a senior, and she is the team captain. She achieved the team All-State Honors. Erica? Okay, senior and also team captain. She also achieved team All-State Honors. Ava? Right here? Is a sophomore. She achieved team All-State Honors. She also broke 2 of the school records. She broke the record set in 2006, so 9 years ago, in the 50 freestyle by 0.44 of a second. And also, she broke another record which has been in place since 1983. Long, long time. In the 100 freestyle, and she broke that by 0.08 of a second. Pretty amazing. Sarah, who is a junior, placed second in the 100 breaststroke at this year's states. She achieved individual all-state honors, team all-state honors. She was the SCC Division II Swimmer of the Year. SCC is the South Central Conference. She was also the SCC champion in the 100 breaststroke, the all SCC honors in the 100 breaststroke, and she broke Foreign's 32-year-old school record in the 200 individual medley by 2.1 seconds. And she broke her own existing record in the 100 breaststroke by almost 3 seconds. That's Sarah. So these are truly some very commendable accomplishments on the part of all of these young women. Well, Erica and Hannah will be graduating this year, and we wish you the best. Are you going to be swimming?
No, I don't think so.
That's all right. Just wondering. Might be, time to take a break. What is great is that both Ava and Sarah will be returning to Foreign, so we can expect great things then next year as part of the team. I also want to thank their coach, Kristen Skutchis, who works diligently right beside all of the members of the team, teaching and encouraging them every step of the way. Having been a recognized 3-time All-State selection herself, and also she was a swimmer at Providence College. Ms. Skutchins has a lot of experience and knowledge to share with her athletes, which she does very willingly. To wrap up this incredible season, in Coach Skutchis' words, if Cloud 4000 existed, then we're on it. So we want to congratulate these students.
Thanks, Coach.
Congratulations. 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 Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Great job. Congratulations.
Good job. Congratulations. 4 years. Congratulations. Good. Go girls. Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congrats. Thanks. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Congratulations.
So now we're going to switch to the elementary level, and I'm going to ask Victoria Sinieri to come up. So let me tell you about this amazing young girl. It's going to call woman, but she's not there yet, right? So we truly have, she is from Orange Avenue. She's a 5th grade student at Orange Avenue, and she's here. Ms. Swift, I know her principal is here. We have some exceptional students in our district. Tonight we'd like to recognize and thank 5th grade student Victoria Sinieri from Orange Avenue School, who has shown us what true community service is all about: caring, compassion, and helping others without any return expectations. At one of the school's town meetings, Orange Avenue holds town meetings where the whole school comes together. I think it's once a month, isn't it? Yes. Victoria presented her idea, this is to the whole student body, of making Thanksgiving Day cards to the entire student body. So she presented to the entire student body that they would make cards for families who would be receiving food baskets from the Connecticut Basket Brigade. The Connecticut Basket Brigade is a project the Sinieri family works on together each year. It's a project in which they volunteer their time in pulling together food baskets, putting them all together, and delivering them to families in need throughout the greater New Haven area. It was Victoria who came up with the idea about adding personal cards to each of the baskets as a way of wishing the recipients a happy Thanksgiving. Her continued enthusiasm for this project got the students excited about creating their cards. But she also stressed to them that she needed over 400 cards to be created and written. She got on the loudspeaker many mornings and spoke during lunch waves, making pleas to the students to make their cards. Through her continued efforts, the students produced well over 400 cards. Not only did Victoria show quality leadership skills in producing this project, she showed us all what it truly means to care about our community and putting others' needs and feelings before our own. So we want to thank Victoria for your unselfish attitude and reminding us all that we can learn from the wonderful example that you've shown every one of us. So thank you.
Terrific.
Great job. Congratulations. That was a good idea.
You see that Victoria, I think your father. Thank you and your family. Obviously, you're instilling the right values in your daughter and your son. That's great.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you, Dr. Fieser. Now we'll move on to student reports. We start with foreign this evening. Lindsay and Joe.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
We'll start off with academics. So senior Alexa Newell was recognized by the Devon Rotary and received the Service Above Self Award. So congratulations to her. And on Friday, November 13th, Ms. Gilman and Mr. Tupka took their Model United Nations class and members of the Youth and Government Club to a Model UN conference at Fairfield University. The 20 students used Model United Nations parliamentary procedure to debate various topics. Moving on to sports. Congratulations to T.J. Stewart, who signed his national letter of intent to play baseball at Manhattan College. And last week, all SEC member schools attended a captain's council at Floyd Little Athletic Center in New Haven. Captains learn about leadership, sportsmanship, and new rules that affect their individual sports.
Okay, in guidance, Warren High School would like to congratulate Aaron Such for being the 2015-2016 Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Seminar representative. Erin, while only a 10th grader, has begun to leave her mark at Foreign. She is active both in the school community and in the Milford community. Congratulations to Erin. Guidance has kicked off their career of the month. November's career is marketing. Representatives will be visiting students regarding the marketing field. And over 60% of the class of 2016 has applied to college, and students are beginning to hear back from the admissions decisions from colleges. So far, students have been accepted to Quinnipiac University, Iona College, University of New Haven, University of New Hampshire, University of Alabama, and Connecticut College, and more to come because December 15th is one of the deadlines. Miscellaneous, students at Foreign High School attended Veterans Day assemblies on Tuesday, November 10th. At the assemblies, students were treated to patriotic music by the band, choir, and strings department under the direction of Ms. Shear, Ms. Voss, and Mr. Uhas. Students also heard from invited guest speakers about the services to one's country and ways that students can give back to veterans organizations in the area. On Saturday, November 7th, select members of the Foreign Jazz Ensemble helped to support the Milford Education Foundation at An Evening Under the Stars event. Students performed and improvised jazz music throughout the evening. And finally, Foreign's high school choir, band, and strings auditioned for the Connecticut Music Educators Association Southern Region Music Festival. 18 band members, 14 choir members, and 4 string members auditioned, and 7 band members and 8 choir members were selected to participate in the festival in January. Way to go, Foreign. Thank you.
And now Emily and David from Law.
So we'll start with academics. Our National Honor Society is currently doing their annual giving tree that benefits the Bridges Foundation. Law hosted a Barnes & Noble book night at opposite Barnes & Noble, in which students received a discount when they went there to buy books. The NHS will also be hosting a Welcome Back Grads at the end of January. And our AP Psychology classes hosted a brain fair in which students designed brains from Play-Doh and clay, and they made a zombie cafe and a menu, and food was for everyone who visited.
In guidance, field admissions are happening for Southern and Quinnipiac. Juniors who are interested in the health sciences went to a field trip to St. Vincent's Hospital to learn and see the different fields of the hospital, such as the emergency room, the radiology, telemetry, birthing center, and the physical therapy center. Sophomores are doing personality inventory on Naviance, and seniors are focusing on making their deadlines and waiting for college acceptances.
In athletics, fall sports have finished up and the winter sports season has begun. Pretty much all of our sports teams have their games beginning this week, starting off with girls basketball tomorrow night against Amity. Also, congrats to David Patrick, Logan Danville, and Joe Corey for earning all conference honors for football.
Other happenings at Law is right now we are starting our Lawmas at Jonathan Law, and the broadcast journalism made a 12 Days of Lawmas video that was put on their morning news. The upcoming powerful presentation from the Sandy Hook Foundation by Miss D'Angelo will be happening on December 21st and 22nd. She will be discussing one of the programs called Say Something, which is a way to notice harmful signs and a way to approach those situations. The Winter Choral Concert will happen tomorrow. Great night of performances by band, choir, and strings ensemble. And Mr. DeGrego came and spoke to the Crime and Punishment class on Thursday last week.
Thank you.
Thank you. As is customary, if you guys want to leave, any students that want to be on their way to do their homework or get to bed early tonight, now's the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now move on to public comment. Speakers may offer objective comments about school operations and programs. The board encourages speakers not to express personal complaints or defamatory comments about the Milford Board of Education personnel or any person associated with Milford Public School System. Security issues and matters relating to negotiations and grievances will not be permitted, consistent with the principles of the Federal Education Right to Privacy Act. Discussion of students is prohibited absent parental waiver. Please be advised our meetings are televised live on Channel 78 on Cablevision. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody who'd like to address the board this evening?
Good evening. My name is Paul Beckwith. I live at 10 Barnett Lane in Milford. I'm also the Republican Town Chairman. I'm not here tonight to talk about politics. Because first of all, I think you all do a great job. And I appreciate what you do. I sat here for 5 years. It's a tough job. It's often not appreciated, but being one person who sat here, I know where you come from, what you're trying to do. I applaud you for that. What I'm really here tonight to do, though, tonight is to take a few minutes to share with you the events of the last couple of weeks with my good friend John DeRosa, and to share with you what a blessing you guys were to him in his last days on this earth. As you know, on December 2nd, we held a fundraiser for John at Florida High, pasta dinner, to help offset some of the medical costs that his family was enduring through a long illness and a valiant fight to defeat cancer. You know, John lost that battle the following Sunday morning, but when he lost that battle, he didn't lose one thing: to know that this board rose up to the top and gave from their hearts, gave generously to help John's family. John was passionate, as Chairman Glennon said. Believed passionately in education, wanted the best for the students of the city, wanted the system to be the best it possibly could be, and he challenged. And as a board member, probably your role is to challenge and ask the good questions and the tough questions of administration. After all, your efforts are what these young people are, why they're successful, whether it's swimming or academics. It's the efforts put forth by you folks and the administration. But John was passionate about that. And he was a guy who just had a vision. And that vision was cut short by a horrible disease. But I wanted to thank especially Chairman Glennon and Claire Casey and all of you for all the efforts you did at that fundraiser at Florida High that Wednesday evening. I had a conversation with John the Sunday before he died, and he called me up at 8:30 at night. He'd been on my mind all day. You know, I'm sorry if I exceed my 3 minutes, but
I'm not.
I just wanted to share with you a couple of things that took place in that last conversation with John. First and foremost, he just shared with me his passion about education and how much he loved this board and serving on it, and the people that he served with. He asked me, he said, Paul, you know, there's going to come a time when you're going to have to replace me. And I told John, you know, we'll do that after the holidays. We'll talk about it after the holidays. Right now, just worry about getting better. He said, I'm sorry if I've been a burden to you or to anybody on the board with my illness. And I told him again, John, you're not a burden. You never have been a burden. You never will be a burden to anybody. And I told him at that point, I said, John, I want you to stop worrying about the Board of Education. And I said, I want you to worry about being here. Besides which, we have a big celebration on Wednesday to raise some money for you to try to pay down some of your bills. And when he asked me who was helping, and I mentioned names, I said board members, people in the community, and I was specific. I said, Sue Glenn and Claire, Earl Whiskey, everybody was out here helping. This wasn't a Democrat, Republican thing. This was about neighbor helping neighbor in the city of Milford. That's why I'm proud to be a Milford. Because that's what happens when somebody is down and hurting. John wept for about 5 to 10 minutes, wept, openly wept. Could not believe how much love he was feeling. And he was just at peace knowing that his friends, you folks, had his back. He had his back. And for that, I'm here tonight on behalf of John to say thank you. To say thank you for having John's back in his last days of his life. Suzanne and I went to hospice to see John Saturday morning before he died. We held his hand and we prayed with him, and we told him we loved him. We told him that good things are happening, that soon you touch the face of God, and shortly after that he did. But John died knowing a few things. One, he was at peace. He knew his friends loved him, that the community in Milford loved him, and that people had his family in their care. And John held my hand, he prayed with me, he squeezed my hand, looked in his eyes, and I knew that'd be the last time I'd see my friend. But the good news is that I know where John is, and John is in the glory of heaven. But on behalf of his family, I'm here tonight to say thank you. To thank you to the public who gave generously to help John and his family during this difficult time. As I said, it wasn't a Republican, it wasn't Democrat. That happens for 2 months of the year, folks. Okay, it gets silly. But when it's time for people to really rally around somebody in this community who's hurting, who's sick, and who knows his days are short, you guys came to the game and went to bat for John DeRosa. And on behalf of his family, I want to say thank you. And thank you for the love you showed him, for the companionship you had, for the good debate that you had with him. You kept him honest as well. But again, just want to, on behalf of Barbara and Rebecca and Raymond and the entire DeRosa family, I wanted to reach out to this board, Dr. Fieser, Jim, all you folks who did a phenomenal job. On that Wednesday, John's going to look down in this room and need a little whisper in your ears, but that's John. And to see a flower there tonight and him not there is it's hard. But we will soon have a replacement to have that. I promise you will be a board member who, like him, has a passion about education and will fight for the city of Milford and the students will support him there. So again, I want to thank you, Sue, for allowing me to go over my time. But
no worries.
You guys, I applaud you. Thank you for all you do for John and his family. And may God bless you all. And have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Paul. Is anybody else who'd like to address the board this evening? It's a tough act to follow. Okay, then we'll move on to the chair's report. So I want to say welcome to our new board members and welcome to a new board term. Your liaison assignments are in front of you. I think everybody has been pre-notified what assignments they were going to be given. Feel free as the term goes on, if you have any liaison reports to present, they can be done during the chair's report. I'll call for liaison reports as part of my chair's report. I wanted to just mention that I had attended the CAVE conference last month with Mrs. Federico, Mrs. Krasinski, Dr. Gregory, and Mr. Jagodzinski, along with Dr. Fieser. So I hope you all got something out of it, got a lot out of it, and certainly feel free to share your experiences if you choose to during board comment time. That's what the board comment time is for any comments that board members would like to make that are outside the scope of the agenda for the evening. I just want to remind board members of our consent agenda. We talked about this a little bit during our orientations. If there's something on the consent agenda that you'd like to have removed because you wish to discuss it, you can send me an email, you can let me know before the meeting starts, you can announce it at the beginning of the meeting that you'd like to have something removed, and we'll put that onto new business. Generally, the consent agenda is used as it's a time management type of item that we put things on the consent agenda that typically don't have discussion to them. So we can approve them as a block. But again, if there's anything that you do want to discuss that's on that agenda, consent agenda, you can just ask to have it removed. I just want to remind the board as well that there's a big learning curve to being on the board. I know when I first came onto the board, it was after almost 20 years of attending board meetings on that side, and even then I found that there was a big learning curve. So I know that there's a lot to take in. I suggest you kind of try to digest things slowly, but please feel free to ask questions as time goes on if you have anything that needs clarification. Just a reminder, there's no COW meeting this month. Because of the holidays, we typically don't have a COW meeting in December, but we do have several additional meetings in January with our budget workshop starting. So we're going to jump in full steam ahead after the first of the year with those workshops. And lastly, so I don't forget to do it later, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, because we have a full agenda tonight, and I think we'll go a little late. So I want to take the opportunity now to wish everybody a very happy holiday and a happy new year.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. So now we'll move on to Dr. Fuser's.
Do you want liaison?
I'm sorry, liaison reports. Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Whiskeyman, I know you told me you had one.
Well, I'm anxious every year, ACES has a little contest among all the students, and they do a design contest, and the winning designs show up on a t-shirt and on some cards, which I'm going to pass around if you would just take a look, and when they get around to come on back. And we had an ACES meeting this past Thursday, and some of the written documentation that goes with the usual, most of it's electronic, but they manage to print a page or two here or there. Their local calendars and that audit report for all their finances. I just want to mention that you can go to their site if you would like to make a purchase of said items. And one last thing, they are in the process of moving forward with two major projects. There's a Leader Hill building that they're in the process of acquiring, and the proposal is to renovate as new for one of the high schools, the Whitney high schools that they have, so they can consolidate that and make it completely accessible for handicap, with wide hallways and extra wide lifts and everything that they need. That's an $80 million project, which has been approved by the board. The other project is to take the ECA and consolidate it into a building that they're in the process of moving forward with the purchase. It's a $3 million project. So there's some pretty big projects in process to promote some of the work that's being done. I believe we have some 38 or so children from Milford who attend ACES, mostly ECA program, but there's lots of different programs. So anyone who likes to take an interest in that, I have in the past promoted some of their information, and since this is a number of new board members here tonight, I wanted to take the opportunity to mention that ACES provides support for a number of districts, including Milford, and that many of the districts send children there for various services, including some special needs and some magnet schools. So they're our local, correct, so to speak, our area cooperative education services. Very, very nice stuff, right?
Very nice. I opened them because I
Oh,
wanted
well,
to see them.
Absolutely.
I love that stuff, so thank you, Mr. Whiskeyman. Ms. Federico, did you have a report?
I do, yeah. The Permanent School Facilities Building Committee met last Thursday evening. We had actually quite a lengthy meeting. I think it was the longest ever since I've been on the committee. We had an update on East Shore Middle School. The main outstanding item at East Shore is the commissioning of the heating and air conditioning equipment. So the commissioning is done by an independent third party who confirms that the equipment is working to the engineer's specifications, and they're not ready to commission the equipment yet. So they think it'll probably take, they said 2 months. I would say maybe a little bit more. Because there's a lot of back and forth that has to happen between the parties. The commissioning agent says it's not meeting specifications, and then the contractors and manufacturers have to go back and get it in line. So that's the main thing that's outstanding at East Shore at this point, and hopefully will be wrapped up soon.
Can I ask, is it
Yeah.
is it functioning? It's just not functioning up to specifications,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes, it's not functioning optimally.
Okay.
Everything is working. Everything turns on for the most part. Staying on is another question, but everything turns on and off. It's a matter of getting it to work at the optimal conditions, and for Mr. Bradbury to be able to monitor the system properly and know what the system is doing without having to send folks up on the roof.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Additionally, we reviewed some preliminary plans and budget items for the West Shore Middle School renovations. So we're just in the beginning of looking at that, and they've been, the architect has been working very closely with the educators, getting their feedback and input in terms of what they would like to see in the renovations. And we also had an update on the 4 elementary school roofs and the Harborside windows, which are both scheduled to be done this summer. The 4 elementary roofs, Calf Pen, Mathewson, Orchard Hills, and Pumpkin Delight, are the first 4 that we're doing that are scheduled for the summer. And so those plans are underway as well.
All right. I can advise the board as well that we will be having a presentation, I think next month probably, from the architect to give us some idea of the direction that the West Shore renovations will be going in. So, any other, is that it? I'm sorry.
That was it.
Okay, thank you. Any other liaison reports from board members? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to superintendent's report then.
Thank you, Mrs. Glennon. So we're going to begin this evening with the energy conservation update, which is a report that is provided to the board annually. And what I'm going to do is turn that over to Mr. Riccitelli. And there is a PowerPoint that is being passed around for all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Fieser, Mrs. Glennon, members of the board. We come to the board each year, usually November or December, and report to you about our energy conservation program. Many of the board members have heard about this program. It's been in existence now. We're in the 5th year of the program, 4 years of the formal program, and now the informal part. With us tonight is our Director of Facilities, Pat Bradbury, and our energy specialist, Jim Whitaker. And Jim's going to start off, and Pat's going to follow up, and then we certainly will answer any questions that the board has. At this time, I'll turn it over to our energy specialist, Jim Whitaker.
Thank you. You want to do that?
Yes.
So we're going to do a quick little run through here, how our past year has been, and how it's been from the inception to.
You can't sit there because it won't switch.
And how we've been doing since the inception of our program until this past June. And Ms. Federico, I want to thank you for pointing out East Shore, because if we go through here, some of the numbers, you're going to be saying, what's going on? East Shore.
Okay, okay, good to know.
There we go. Primary goals. The primary goals of the program are to save dollars, to maintain and improve the comfort and the safety of our buildings, to eliminate energy waste, create a positive educational environment, and achieve an energy conservation culture with both staff and students. Everything we do is measured and verified. We enter all the data, the energy bills, the gas bills, water bills, electric bills, into a computer system called Energy Cap. And that Energy Cap takes all the data, makes adjustments, and spits out for us how much we've actually saved, or how much we have avoided paying utility companies. There are adjustments that are made to that as we go through. An example of the adjustment would be if Sandy, when Hurricane Sandy came through, many of our buildings lost power. We couldn't take credit for that. The program couldn't take credit for that. That had nothing to do with what we do as a culture here. So an adjustment was actually made for that, so that we weren't showing an extra $5,000 in savings that we didn't actually create. Okay. This is a quick snapshot pie chart. It's from January 2011 to June of 2015. We've reduced our energy consumption by 26.8%. 25.3% of that was natural gas. 27.9% of that was electricity, and 1.9% of it was water. This is a natural gas comparison. This is done at CCS, cubic feet. The first...
It was electric.
Oh, it was electric, okay. I thought okay. Electric. Same idea though. Electric comparison to fiscal year of July 2014 through June 15th, the past year we just did. So on the left-hand side there. The red bar is what was expected to be used by us in electricity, the amount of kilowatts, had we continued doing everything that we used to do, the way we used to do it. And the actual is the green bar. The 4,948,707 kilowatt hours were actually used. From January of 2011, the beginning of our program, till this past June, same thing. The expected kilowatt hours were almost 31 million, is what we would have been expected to use. We actually used 22.5 million.
Were there any savings over the past year? I mean,
July, on the left-hand side.
Right.
So July 2014.
Right.
Through June of 2015 is our past year, our past fiscal year.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but that's, what you're saying there is that if we had done nothing 5 years ago.
On the left-hand side.
Right.
Right.
Okay, my question is different, okay. In the last fiscal year,
right,
comparing the last fiscal year to this fiscal year, has electric usage gone up or gone down?
It's gone down, and we might be coming to what.
Yeah, can we try to hold questions till the end?
Well,
sometimes as the presentation goes on, your questions might be answered.
Yeah, well, he said, no, I'll wait.
I think I might get to answer your question
Sure.
about 4 slides.
Okay.
Electric. Okay, so natural gas, same idea with the bar graph. The fiscal year, this past fiscal year, July 2014 to June 2015, we were expected to use 778,000 cubic feet of natural gas, and In actuality, we used 545,000. And then from January 2011 to the beginning of our program, to this past June, the expected use was 3.1 million cubic feet, and we used 2.362 cubic feet.
Could I interrupt? I'm wondering if, Mr. Whitaker, you or Mr. Bradbury might talk about the energy savings steps that were really trying to be pursued by the district before this program. So it's not as if there wasn't anything being done in an effort to try and save energy. There was a lot that was being done.
Right.
Everything that the people in your department and beyond were thought that they were doing everything they possibly could.
Prior to this program starting, we went out with Johnson Controls. The previous director purchased the Johnson Controls program, which controls all the heating and ventilation. So he ran it to some point, and I came in and I took it, and I was able to adjust schedules, and that's our biggest savings, is as I can adjust schedules and keep the students' staff as comfortable as possible. So we're constantly looking to lower temperatures, we're looking to lower loop temperatures, we're looking to lower basic boiler run rates. We're changing motors, we're doing all this stuff. So what Jim's program does is primarily educational. You know, in behavioral processes that to show how long we can run the program and what's actually happening. Because we have this computer monitoring system, when the valve says it's closed at my office, it's not always closed out in the field, and so he helps verify that. But that's part of what this does here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, and to kind of add to that, Mr. Richards Telly's predecessor, Phil Russell, told a story when we were 6 months into the program, and we gave a quick little report. And I always like that Mr. Russell said that he had spent, he had the UI come in and do a special project where they changed out light bulbs to better light bulbs and the ballast to more energy efficient ballast. And his goal was really to try and save $1 million. Well, years went by and he still hadn't saved that $1 million, and he was terribly disappointed in it. But in 6 months we had saved almost $1 million of our program. So that's the story that Phil Russell's always told, which I think was just a great story, a great illustration of how well this program works.
The Synergistics program, or what was formerly called when we first entered into the program,
Energy Education.
Right, EEI. Since they've changed their name to Synergistics, but the concept behind it is to identify those areas where not necessarily through equipment change and infrastructure change, but through behavioral change, we're able to save drastic amounts of money and cut down in consumption of energy along the way. And that's really what the program has done more than anything else, is to change the way people behave when they're in our buildings. When I say people, it's students, it's teachers, it's administrators, it's custodians, it's secretaries, it's everyone that is in our buildings is involved in this program. And when they slip a little bit, that's what the energy specialist is there to catch it and to constantly remind or nag, as some of them would say, but sometimes they need constant nagging and reminding. Every time we have a shutdown, every weekend, Jim is in the schools making sure that computers are off, lights are off, printers are off. When it's a long vacation period, like the winter break that's coming up, all refrigerators will be turned off, Keurig machines will be turned off. It's behavioral. And in addition to that, before we used to constantly, just because it was the thing to do, we used to run exhaust fans, and I'm just using this as a simple example. We would run exhaust fans all the time. And the Synergistics program says we don't need to run exhaust fans in the school. And some of these rooftop units use huge amounts of electricity. So they're now on timers, they're turned off when they don't need to be on. And as you'll see when we come up later on what the actual dollar savings has been, you can see how effective this program has been. And what Synergistics does, it was a 4-year program. We paid them approximately $250,000 a year, but they guaranteed that we would save that in energy, or we didn't pay the bill that year. And as you can see, we've exceeded by far that $250,000 per year. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, I do now that he's talked about like our rooftop fans, our exhaust fans. One of the, again, a story that I like to tell is that when we first started the program, it was a Sunday morning in March or April, and it was like 32, 33 degrees out. I was with one of the engineers that came in to help me, and we were on the roof of Foreign High School, and there was an exhaust fan running. And he said, you know, take your temp gun, stick it in there, and see what the temp is. Well, the air coming out of there was 74 degrees. So he looked at the unit, and the unit was a 3,400 cubic feet per minute unit. So a cubic foot of air is the size of a basketball. So he said to me, now imagine 3,400 basketballs shooting out of here of 72 degree air. Well, as it goes out, you have to bring 3,200 basketballs of air back into the building, heat it up, just to spit it back out. It's a Sunday, nobody's in the building. There's absolutely no reason for that stuff to be on. So those were things, and by the way, those were things where we were finding, you know, Pat's computer system would say, it's all shut down. But when you get there, you find out it really isn't. So, you know, that was a problem of something we had to have repaired. But like Mr. Ricciatelli says, this is a huge part of this program. Not all of it, but a huge part of this program is behavioral change. Getting people to change their ways, which is a tremendous task. A lot of people brought on board right away. I might have left them one note saying, 5 years ago, saying you left your computer on. I never found the computer on again. There are other rooms you go to, other classrooms, I can tell you before I walk in the building, what classroom is going to have a printer on it, what classroom is going to have, you know, somebody didn't turn off a smart board. So it's an ongoing challenge. The environmental benefits of the program is, to date, we have reduced our consumption by 8.4 million kilowatt hours of electricity, 775,956 CCFs of natural gas. The greenhouse reductions are equal to preventing the release of 6,407 metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere, or removing 1,335 automobiles off the roads for an entire year, or planting 164,291 tree seedlings to be grown over for 10 years.
The numbers.
The numbers. So this is the expected versus the actual energy expenditures. Now, this is the minimum amount of money in the green column expected. That's the minimum that we expected to spend in electricity and natural gas. And the column next to it is how much we actually spent. And then the difference, our savings, is in the last column. So when you add it all up, we have a savings of $2,668,185 since program inception. And then you can see the 2014-2015 on the bottom there. We actually spent $1,820,775. So our savings over a baseline year was $462,507.
Do you want to explain why you used the baseline year?
So everything for this program goes on the baseline.
Which was the first year of the program?
The year before.
The year before.
It's the year before we actually started the program, because the year before we weren't doing any type of programming, other than hoping that people turned off the lights and turned off their computers. So everything gets compared to the baseline year, because if we hadn't started this program, we most likely would still be doing things according to the baseline year.
Or worse.
Or worse, yeah.
Prices would continue to rise in utilities, and we would have continued to consume, or we would have expected to consume at the same level or worse.
And in this past year, our gas cost has increased, and our electricity, the cost of buying the electricity has not increased. What's increased is getting it to our buildings. That's going up.
You'll see, I think maybe this is what Mr. Jagoditsky might have been starting to allude to, but you can see from in the 14-15 year, we actually spent more than the year before. And the two reasons, and Pat, you can elaborate. Two reasons is East Shore Middle School came on fully online in 14-15. There's air conditioning that's in East Shore, and there's a third of the building. The addition is a third bigger than it was before. So the school is a third bigger than it was before, and there were rate increases from UI and drastic increases from our natural gas carrier. And so that's the reason. It wasn't that we were, that the program is starting to fail or slip. It's that it's attributable to primarily to East Shore and the rising cost of those utilities.
Well, there's a couple pieces of that. You know, we did add 20,000 square feet to East Shore Middle School. We're under construction. They're running equipment longer than they should be for test mode to see what's happening out there. Our degree days have gone up every year. That adds another load to the, another factor to the, so when you start to add up all these little factors in there, the degree days, our air conditioners are working harder for cooling days in the summer, and our heating equipment's working harder in the winter. It's just been colder in the winter and warmer in the summer. So that adds to it. So every little piece adds to it. And we continue to look, on these behavioral changes to keep things to a minimum.
Yeah, I mean, it would be useful to see not only the dollars, because that, obviously fluctuates, but also to see what the, actual energy, what CF.
I'll get you a copy of the kilowatts and all the CCF, so you can see it as, I have it tracked all the way back. So.
I mean, it's completely understandable why it would have gone up.
Yeah. So, but we have that all tracked by school, and so you can see it.
Great.
You gotta remember too, on East Shore now, we have rooftop units that we never had before. That you couldn't fit in your garage. They're just, I get up there and I'm like, we got one unit. We really have to work to even look at it.
There's actual, with the new state regulations, with LEED buildings, our air exchange is more.
Right.
We just have larger units. We have to turn over more air. It's not simple.
Which is all the more reason why it's so important to keep those behavioral changes going. And as we're going to talk about later, there are also some infrastructure changes that we're now going to start to implement.
Just a follow-up to that, you mentioned LEED buildings. Do we have any buildings that still need additional renovations to bring them up to the standards?
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about that as projects then?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
This is the program cost since the inception, how much we've paid Synergistics, how much we've paid me, the Energy Cap software, which is that special computing software that I was mentioning. So you have the total expenses for each year. So the total since the program inception has been $1,370,985.
And is this the last year of the synergistic costs?
Correct. It's done.
No, Synergistics ended in 2015.
The payment.
Right.
So yeah,
yes.
we are no longer paying Synergistics.
And then this is the net energy savings from 2011 to June 2015. It's the savings minus the cost of the program. So the net savings to date are $1,297,200. Which is incredible. I got to tell you, I don't know why every Board of Ed And the state of Connecticut doesn't do this with the money that's saved. And this is a chart that I like, the Milford, about how Milford Public Schools, how we exceeded Synergistics' expectations. Synergistics gave us this chart, and they said that orange line is kind of what they promised us, what they said we can expect in savings. The yellow line is what we actually have done. So we are in excess of 10 years ahead of where they thought we'd be. Some of the awards and recognitions, EPA's award for low carbon IT campaign, where we are a registered Energy Star partner. In 2014, we received the Power of Change Award, which is awarded by the Connecticut DEP and these foundations. We get the building, they call it the Top Building Award. But everybody in the state that participated in Energy Star was kind of involved with this, and we came out top with our buildings.
You can read a little bit about this award. This was a pretty prestigious award that was given to us. So you can read about that. It's in your packet.
Right. So we get to where we are because people buy into this and what we're trying to do. You know, of course, the school board has always been, since the inception, has always been very proactive with this. The community clearly supports our energy program. The maintenance staff is a huge part of it because like right now they're the ones that are in our buildings to make sure the lights are getting turned off and make sure that the heat's not on. The guys in IT are great with working on our computer scripts to make sure that our computers are shut down. So should a teacher or a class forget to do it, we have shutdown times in there, so shut them down so they won't be on all weekend or all night long. The custodians for sending back each night that's turning off the lights, make sure the heat's down. The teachers who for the most part do just a terrific job of you know, when they leave for the day, turning off their computers, their monitors, their printers, turning off the lights before they leave. And the principals and of course the rest of the building staff, because the kitchen's in there, our health department's in there, our health offices, they all do a great job of taking care of their area. And then I think we'll let Mr. Bradbury can speak to some of this. And Mr. Riccitelli.
Yeah, as we said earlier, our financial commitment to Synergistics, it was a 4-year contract. So we started in mid-2011 and it expired in 2015. Synergistics will continue to provide us with all of the services that they've been providing us throughout the contract, provided, and this was in the contract that was signed with Synergistics, provided that we continue to employ the energy specialist, that we continue to renew the energy cap software, which is relatively inexpensive. It's $2,093 a year to continue to purchase the energy cap software, and then to actively promote the work of the energy specialist and the things that the energy specialist does, the audits, the daily reminders, the weekly reminders, things like that. So as long as we continue to do those 3 things, Synergistics will continue to support us with exactly what they've been supporting us for the 4 years of the contract. There's specialists that come out, the reports that we get, the training sessions, all of that is to continue as long as we fulfill our 3 pieces of the contractual obligation. Mrs. Federico?
Just a quick question for you, Madam Chair. Is the software theirs? Are we paying them for the software or a
Yes.
third party? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, and so knowing that the contract would come to an end, when the board enacted the budget last year, one of the things that we asked is that of the $250,000 that we won't be spending on Synergistics in the 15-16 school year, we asked and the board supported if we could carry half of that, or $125,000, in the 15-16 year budget for infrastructure improvements to improve our energy conservation program. So at this point, the board, there is $125,000 that the board has appropriated in the 15-16 year budget, and Pat's going to talk a little bit about what our plan is for that money and how it's going to be spent and what our energy initiatives are going to be for the future.
So part of what we do, we have $224,000 to work with, and right now I'm working with UI, and with the gas company, and we're going through a couple projects. It's probably going to be some LED lighting. There's going to be some drive control that we do, some VFD drives to help modulate some of those larger motors that we have on usage. We're going to be looking at some insulation, but we're trying to tie it together with a package. Because UI has incentives. You know, on a $190,000 project, I'll get $90,000 incentive from UI to do these projects. And the paybacks are usually within 2 years. So we'd like to take some of that money we were spending with Synergistics and get it into infrastructure so we can still lower our utility consumption. And plus get some of our capital issues that are beginning to fail, get them to a little better quality and more reliability. A lot of times when we do these lightings, we take out, not only is the cost of the energy out of our budget, but now we're not maintaining these lights, because they're going to go for another 20 years. The LED product technology is much larger, the lifespan is much better than what we have right now. So those are the steps that we're taking. We're going to be doing some calibration. But again, I'm still working with a company. I'm working with 2 companies right now to see which way we're going to go. I have a lot of companies that want to sell us a lot of things. So I'm really trying to find what's the best avenue for us to take right now. And we didn't have a lot of time to spend on the end of the summer, fall there, so I'm going to get into that a little more now. But I am working with them.
So with that, we'll answer any questions.
Additional questions?
Could you go back to slide 8, please?
Sure.
You guys did a great job explaining the hop between 13-14, 14-15, but the trend started before that. So there was a downward trend through 2010-11 and 11-12, and then it bottoms out 2012-13 and is creeping up after that, not just in 14-15. Is there any reason why 13-14 was higher than 11-12 even?
So a good part of that is again, East Shore.
It's East Shore coming on and the increase in the price over that period of time.
3-year, was it a 3-year or 3-year project East Shore was?
So yeah, they explained that for the 14-15, but that's also responsible for the 13-14?
It was a 3-year project.
Correct.
Yep. When you're providing those extra details for some of those, could you sort of map out where that's coming online so we can really get a better picture of that?
Yeah, we can.
Cool. Thanks.
But when East Shore is coming online?
Well, when you're mapping out more details on the costs, Tom, you were asking for a little more detail. When you're mapping out some more of those details, can you show not only the rates and when those are changing, but also when East Shore was coming online, so we can sort of see where those are? Because right here, these data.
So yeah, we could definitely do that. As a matter of fact, in the Energy Cap software program, we have side notes in there, broke ground for East Shore, and because I'm not the only one that sees the Energy Cap It goes back to State College, Pennsylvania, where Energy Cap is out of, and they review it, and then they'll call me or send me an email and say, what's going on at this school? So I have to have footnotes there saying, here's what's happening. You know, and when they see construction, they kind of figure out what the deal is. Apparently, as much as excited as I got over how things were running on weekends that we had nothing to do with construction equipment, I came to find out that's kind of the norm throughout the country.
But we'll provide extra details.
Thanks. Other questions? Yes, Mr. Jagodzinski?
I just think this is an outstanding program. You know, I think it's fantastic. You know, I think going forward, what I'd like to see is I'm more interested in the year-over-year rather than comparing it to synergistics.
So we can very easily do that.
I have all the data.
Yeah, I mean this. You know, the third column here is exactly the kind of thing I'm interested in. You know, that tells us where we're going, possibly budget-wise.
Right, we're going to hit walls. We're going to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There's going to come a point where we've pushed the limit, and we have to keep going. And we're constantly squeezing schedules. I'm fighting between, you know, it's too hot in the buildings, so I'm freezing.
Right.
You know, and he's telling me it's too hot in the building, and I got staff, and you know, it may take a little longer to warm the building up. So it's a constant adjustment.
Right.
And this time of year, I'm having a very difficult time with the weather being as warm as it is. You know, we're having a tough time really bringing that back. So.
Mr. Riskiman?
Yes, and following on that, I think the important thing from a budget standpoint is to make those projections as we go forward. We see an increase year to year that's been occurring for the last several years, some of which will be temporary because of things like the East Shore construction, but we'll have other constructions going on. And the other thing is prices fluctuate, and to the best of our ability, the projections of those are problematic. I mean, oil is where? I mean, who would believe it was, you know, heading down at this point in time? So, you know, the possibility of having switchable fuel capabilities is something we might actually want to think about as a possibility.
I have that.
And some of the buildings, right?
At the high school.
Yeah. So you know, you reach a point where, yeah, that makes sense. But the thing that I think most of us would be concerned about is where are we heading in terms of how much do we have to budget for next year? And, you know, it's a challenge, right? Yeah, okay.
Mrs. Federico?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to ask about East Shore and the commissioning. When that's complete and the equipment is running more efficiently, do you think we'll see an impact of savings?
We should see, once I can get my hands on that equipment a little more. Right now, they're kind of, you know, I have some schedules in there, but I really can't play around. I can't make any adjustments that I want to make just yet until the commissioning is done and the contractors are off site. So, I mean, we have schedules in there now, but we're having a tough time getting into some of the controllers because they haven't figured them out yet. We're close.
So can you tell what's a schedule turns on and off
We
at a
have
certain
occupied
time?
and unoccupied schedules. You know, so at the end of the school day, the building goes into unoccupied. It lowers the temperatures in the building. We're making sure that those temperatures are met. You know, we could run at 68, 70 during the day, and we might want to drop down to 60 at night. Everything kicks on probably 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, brings up the temperature for 7. So there's all, I think we have probably...
Versus running the heat all night to keep it warm, which is kind of how things used to, not just here, everywhere.
We probably have about 300 schedules in there. You know,
for East Shore?
No, for across the district.
Okay.
You know, East Shore alone probably has about 10,000 points that we're looking at, monitoring, sensors, and so it's very complicated.
And it is getting better.
Yeah.
It's just we're still not there.
Okay. I just want to, I want to caution though, we're going to, there will be a reduction at East Shore from what we're spending now when we're running completely efficiently. But East Shore is still a third bigger than it was before. So we're going to be spending more on utilities for East Shore than we did 3 years ago before the addition was put on.
we're just hoping to bring them back. I'm just trying to tighten it up a little bit, so not so bad.
Okay. So if I'm understanding this, the way I've understood this program all this time is that it's, the philosophy of this program is, number one, changing the behaviors, but what the cost avoidances are, as opposed to what we would have been spending had we not changed our ways, is a large part of it. So while our continuing efforts may or may not see decreases every year in what we're spending because of different variables, we're still, the behavioral changes are still avoiding our spending what we would have spent had we not done anything.
That's correct. When I put the bills in every month, I look to see, I want to see if it was $2,000 last month, I want to see $1,800 this month. It doesn't always happen that way, but what I do see is it's an electric bill. Kilowatt hours have been reduced. So,
Right, which is as important to look at the amount of usage versus the
But back
cost.
to your education piece, we're looking for, instead of, you have a room that's hot, instead of opening the windows, calm.
Right.
If I'm running the air conditioner, close your windows. You wouldn't do it at your house, don't do it at my
And
house.
that's one of the
That's what we're trying to really push,
Uh-huh.
So, that's, and people don't think about it. They don't see the bill, they don't see the UI bill. I see the bill, Jim sees the bill. So we're constantly, in the morning when the teachers have the doors open, they're letting the kids in. The doors are wide open. My mechanicals is pulling that air from the outside and we're freezing the hallways out. Close the door for a couple minutes. Give us some time to recover. But it's just, those are the behavioral changes we're trying to make. Just think about it for a second. When you feel that Arctic breeze blasting you from the front door, let's close the door for a little while. Let's think about it. And that's what we're trying to do.
But we've come a long way.
Yes.
We have come a long way. And that's the really, I think, kind of exciting thing because it's the adults, first and foremost, in the district that has to really change the behaviors. But then the kids are cueing off of it as well. So I think we're really contributing to our kids being much, much more conscientious of energy. And Jim, you used the word nag at points. So after a long vacation, within 2 days, here's a message that goes out to all the principals. Well, of the 14 schools, 12 of you made 100%. That's the report that comes out. And then he'll name the 12 and leave the two off. So I know I'm reading them thinking, okay, who didn't make this, but now, it used to be some real variation. Now you'll say, but the other two schools were at 90%. There's just a consciousness, and it's also the custodial staff, and it's the paras, and as you said, the lunch people, etc. So it is. That's really what has prompted the biggest savings is changing people's manner of doing business.
Right. And I just got such a brought up with students. A real quick story. It's another one that I love. I was in Stop and Shop 3 years ago, and a woman kind of chased me down the hall, and she said, "Aren't you that energy guy for the?" And I was like, "Oh, your teacher's not happy with me." So I said, "Well, yes, ma'am, I am." And she said, "Well, I got a bone to pick with you." And I said, "Okay." My 10-year-old keeps coming home and turning off my computer. Well, and then she said, "I'm just giving you a hard time." But she said, "He really comes home every day and shuts off my computer, my monitor, and my printer." So it's and I think like a lot of things, kids pick it up even faster than the adults do. So it is hopefully something that we're teaching down. Even in kindergarten, they have certain kids are assigned to make sure all the monitors are on. That something that they'll carry on for the rest of their life.
Right. Very good. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda has to do with a request to the board to contract with CABE, which is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, to review our policies. So just to provide a little background, you went through the orientation with Attorney Dugas, and one of the things he immediately talked about was one of the responsibilities of boards of education is to set policy. And we have lots and lots of policies, every district does, many of them mandated by the state. boards are expected to keep up with the policies, to revise them, to add ones that are mandated by the state, et cetera. Milford has not, quite honestly, we have not reviewed regularly the policies to the degree that we should have. And, you know, I'm sure there's a number of reasons. I'm talking about over the last decade or more. And I know we've brought new policies to you, and we've brought policies for revisions, et cetera, but it's really not sufficient. And we really feel that we really need to have a full policy review. It's one of the services that CABE provides is a policy review. I actually spoke with Vincent Mistero, who's the policy guru at CABE, about what would be involved if they were to come in and take a look at our policies. And they basically said if they're literally going from beginning to end, it would take 2 to 3 years. They would literally ultimately develop a new set of policies. In other words, like we call a policy manual. Now everything's online, but it used to be we had a manual with all of the policies. But what they do is they actually develop a plan. They start to go through policy by policy. They look at which policies need revisions, which policies need replacing, and then they also look to what's missing in the policies. What they would do is that they would make changes, but it isn't as if that's just carte blanche. Any change that would be made, any policy that's replaced, any policy that's omitted, would come before you for your approval. They would be doing the work, but everything would come before you for you to take a look at language, for you to take a look at, do you agree, you know, that this should be revised in the way they have? Do you agree that this policy should be omitted, et cetera? But it's the idea that someone is doing, you know, is really concentrating on getting our policies really up to where they should be. I asked for, you know, what it would cost to do this. They said approximately $14,000, which, you know, I was surprised at because we got some other quotes that were nearly double that amount. Again, it's over 2 to 3 years, and CABE said that we can actually divide the payments up over, you know, 2 years, 3 years, and whatever we so choose. So what we are coming to you for this evening is that, one, is that you would support entering into a contract with CABE to engage in this kind of policy review, but two, to enable them to begin immediately. We would really like to see, could they begin in January? In other words, begin, you know, now and get it underway. And so what we're asking is that would you also support them, besides entering into a contract with them, that we would be able to spend $5,000 out of our current budget to enable CABE to begin immediately. And they're willing to do that. I mean, we've had conversations. I think you, didn't you, Mrs. Glenn, speak to Vin Mistero also up at CABE?
I did, yes.
Okay. So they're willing to begin and work with us, and as I said, everything comes to you. So I don't want you to think that anything's going to be done that, oh my gosh, wait a minute, you know, I didn't get a chance to see this. Every single policy would come before you for your review and then for also ultimately your approval. And then what happens, if you've ever noticed in the policies, you can go on the website and go under Board of Education and you'll see not your governance policy, we're talking about other board policies. There's a date at the end of the policy, which is basically the last time the policy was looked at by the board. And some of them go back to 1990. Now, the 1990 policy may be perfectly fine the way it is, because some policies are just, you know, they're appropriate. But there's others that really need to be brought up to speed.
So my understanding, just to add to that, was much of it is boilerplate. You know, they have the boilerplate. It's already been vetted by attorneys, so it's, you know, and there's a lot of the series are mundane, I'll call them. I mean, they're just. But then, you know, then there's the meteor series, this, you know, the student series, the instructional series that are, you know, much more involved and more probably. You know, generic isn't as appropriate. You know, those are more adapted to individual districts that have different criteria. So our graduation policy would be one example where we have more stringent criteria for graduation than the state standard. So it's just a way to, I mean, I would support doing this because I know over the years it's just the policy review just gets put on the back burner because there's so many more urgent things that take up our attention. And to have somebody kind of go through the nuts and bolts and to say, you know, these are just, a lot of them we can approve in a block because they are, many of them, like I said, are just very generic and boilerplate language. And then there's the added benefit that it has already been vetted by their legal counsel, so we wouldn't have to go through that step for many of the policies. So, yes, Mr. Jagosinski.
I'm strongly supportive of this. My questions really have to do with the payment. Is it a fixed price contract, so it's fixed at $14,000?
Well, that was what was quoted. I mean, I think we have to sit down. I think they probably maybe have to, you know, just sort of take a look further. But
Right.
I asked him, and I was very honest. I said, here's the situation that we're in. And I said, can you tell me, you know, can you give me a quote? And he said $14,000.
Right. Okay. And the other thing is the way we're going to pay. This kind of implies that we might be paying up front. And I just wanted to make sure that we would be paying, you know, after, you know, for performance rather than in anticipation of performance.
We would, you know, and I'm not saying that we're going to give them $5,000,
Right.
but our thought was to, if you would approve it, then presuming they would do their work before the end of,
Right.
by June 30th, that we would pay them then. And the same way with, we have to decide, do we just go ahead and put the $9,000 in next year's budget? But
Right.
again, that would be after services are rendered.
Right.
You know, so.
So let's have a motion and then we can discuss further if there's further discussion on this.
All right. I make a motion that the board approves contracting with CABE to conduct a thorough review of the Board of Education policies and to pay CABE $5,000 from the current budget to enable CABE to begin the review process as soon as possible.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Federico has seconded. So is there further discussion on this? Other questions? Mr. Whiskeyman.
Just in a general philosophical sense, is there any board member who would like to spend the next 6 months full-time going over the policies themselves? I mean, you know, maybe we have a volunteer here who would like to save us $14,000 by hopefully also having the necessary legal background to actually understand the policies at that level.
I nominate Mr. Whiskey.
I did not volunteer to do that. I'm
Any
just
other
posing the question.
Questions or comments? Mrs. Federico?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I think it's a great idea, and I think not only do we have the value of these policies that they might bring forward being vetted by their attorneys, by their lawyers, but we also have, will benefit from the insights that they've had from working with other districts and other boards that, I think an individual board member or even an individual member of administration, we just can't bring that to the table. So I think it's very valuable, and I think it's worth the money.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. The next, I realized I just skipped an item. Or no, I didn't. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my old former agenda. So the Board of Education meeting schedule is the next item on the agenda. So we set, which is usually we operate by a school calendar, but when it comes to the meetings, establishing the meeting dates, they go by the yearly calendar, and I think that's because of the law where the state requires that boards establish their schedule at this time of the year. So we're presenting to you what will be the 2016 meeting dates. And again, we meet generally on the first and the second and the fourth Monday of the month. And so you see these are all Mondays, which is unusual because generally speaking, there's sometimes a holiday that hits on a Monday and we're moved to a Tuesday, but next year that's not the case. However, I will say there's two exceptions to the second and fourth, and that is that the August business meeting is held on the fourth Monday of the month. We don't have one on the second Monday, and that's because there were so many people that were on vacations. We moved it to the fourth. And then the others is that there are a couple of months or a few months where we do not have a committee of the whole meeting. And those are in June, July, August, which sounds funny because we have a meeting on the 4th, but that's a business meeting, and then also December. We don't hold that committee of the whole meeting.
So just to add to this by way of explanation, the fourth Monday in August, that's actually a board policy. It's part of our bylaws that we have our August meeting at that time. And then this is what becomes what we call our regularly scheduled meetings. So it's becomes the state's formal schedule of our meetings. And when we talk about our regularly scheduled meeting, these are them. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approves the 2016 Board of Education meeting schedule as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Federico seconds. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The next report is our Human Resources report. Mrs. Kapasna.
Thank you. You see in front of you, you have my monthly report, which typically lists the job postings that are currently posted on our website, as well as the personnel recommendations, which would be for all new hires that we've recently brought on board, as well as a list of retirements, resignations, terminations, and stipend appointments. This month, we happen to show you the stipend appointments at the high schools or the coaching appointments at both high schools for the winter sport.
Any questions for Mrs. Kapasna? Yes, Mr. Jagodzinski.
Yes, through you. It says personnel recommendations. What does that mean?
You know what? That's a good question. Since we've already hired them, I think that's probably just a carryover of terminology.
It's just kind of boilerplate language. Boilerplate language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, personnel recommendations for the month of the people that we've hired.
And have we had 3 school psychologists resign, or how many?
2, I believe.
Yeah.
One, I believe, is taking a year-long leave of absence for childbearing, which is under their contract, they're allowed to do that.
Right.
And one actually did move on to relocate out of state.
And do you anticipate filling those positions before the people leave, or are those positions likely to be open for
Actually,
a
both
period of
people
time?
are no longer here, and the positions are available, but we have people that we're about to hire. So in the meantime, yes, sometimes there is a window of time when there isn't somebody there, or we have a substitute there.
How long was it that how long will it be that the position is open?
Which one, particularly that position?
I'm talking about the school psychologist
School
position.
psychologist, how much of a time where there wouldn't be someone there?
Right. I mean, did they leave 3 months ago?
No. Well, one of them took a child rearing leave.
Right.
So we've had a substitute, so there's no lapse of service there.
Okay.
The other person, I
Says
believe she's
retirement.
leaving at the end of the month, so
Okay.
we anticipate actually having that one filled
Okay.
before she leaves.
And
Ideally, that's what we want to do, is
Right.
obviously have it filled before someone leaves.
And typically we cover with substitutes.
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions? I had 2 questions in it. That was one of my questions. I was wondering why there might be need for a temporary hourly custodians and maintenance at this point in the year? On the first page, there were some hires.
You're talking about open jobs or somebody that we hired?
Personnel recommendations.
Yeah, okay. We constantly hire temps to bring on board to cover in the custodian area. People that are taking time off, especially this time of year.
Oh, okay.
People that are out sick, people that are out on workers' comp, et cetera. So it's just like a substitute teaching pool.
Oh,
We have
okay,
a
so
pool
they're
of-
not, it's not like they're working regularly, they
No,
might be
they're
called
on
in to
call
fill,
per
okay,
diem, yeah.
okay.
And by contract, we're allowed to use temporary, a certain amount of temporary custodians in lieu of overtime.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So it's to our advantage to have temporaries on board, so we're not paying
Right,
overtime.
okay, okay.
That-
That is good. And then my other question was regarding the high school coaching stipends for Jonathan Law for hockey. There's 2 individuals listed for the assistant hockey coach. Do they split the stipend?
They do. Anytime there's 2 for one stipend, it's split.
Okay.
If I look at it, let's see. Yeah, they would split 3115 equally.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Jagosinski?
I was really wondering why we get a report on the stipends. It doesn't seem like we would really do anything about it.
It's just informational, really.
Yeah, just like our new hires, there are people who are being brought on board to service our students and our community, and, you know, it's important for everybody to know who those individuals are. You know, that they've been hired and cleared through all of the background checks and fingerprinting, TVs, et cetera. So.
Just a question, what's a team mentor?
Team mentor, the team program is through the state for our beginning teachers. So it used to be called the BEST program, now it's called TEAM.
Oh, okay.
So they're in their first, I think it's 2 years of employment or into the teaching field, and we pair them up with a mentor who we give a small stipend to. They follow them through the year. They have regular meetings with them. They kind of guide them through the process of, you know, different things within what to do, what not to do, help them with their lesson plans, whatever they need. They're there for them.
Mr. Wiskiman?
We've had some discussions in the past about our ability to hire substitutes. How are we doing along those lines? Do we have an ample pool of substitutes, or are we struggling with that?
It's a good question. This is the time of year we do post that position, and we've hired, I think, about 12 to 15 people within the past month and a half to kind of ramp up, maybe replace those that we've lost last year that have either moved away or gone on to get contracted teaching jobs. So we're pretty well staffed. There are days, however, busy days where maybe, I mean, if there's a lot of illnesses going around and it's a Friday and it's raining and who knows, where sometimes we're not fully 100% staffed, but we do try to prevent that obviously by bringing enough subs on and making sure that people are placed.
Well, the part of that was, you know, is our compensation adequate for the, you know, the situation we're in? And if we have an adequate pool.
Yeah.
And the one other question is, do the schools all have the same policy and procedures for substitutes, or might it change from school to school with different schools following different practices?
They should all have the same procedures in place for when a substitute comes in. There's a folder with lesson plans, emergency lesson plans, if somebody wasn't planning on being out. Ideally, that's the way that's supposed to run. And to back up to the first part of your question, we do still find that our elementary assignments go more unfilled than our high school assignments do. Our high school, we pay our high school substitutes $90 a day, and our elementary and middle school substitutes $75 a day. So because, you know, years ago we did that because we were having a hard time filling the high school assignments, and now we're seeing the backlash. Over the past 3 years, I think we've seen the reverse. So we would like to address that, and I believe that we're going to try to address that in the budget if we can this year, to try to equalize it a bit more, to make it, you know, every assignment equal and unfair ground. So if you're a sub, you should want to do it whatever level you want to do because you want to do it, not because it pays more.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions on the personal report? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's it for you, Dr. Fieser?
It
Anything
is.
else?
It is.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. This is a long consent agenda because we have a lot of specs that we have to approve, so please bear with Ms. DeBias because she has to read a lot of stuff. You ready?
Okay. All right, here we go. All right, I make a motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the consent agenda items. Disbursement report, consideration of minutes from November 9th, 2015 business meeting, from the November 23rd, 2015 organizational meeting, November 23rd, 2015 special meeting, and the November 30th, 2015 special meeting. That the Board of Education, Milford Board of Education approves the educational specifications for the roof replacement project at Calf Pen Meadow Elementary School and authorize the superintendent to apply for state reimbursement from the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, Office of School Construction Grants, SCG. That the Milford Board of Education approves the plan, specifications, and estimates for the roof replacement project at Calf Pen Meadows Elementary School. That the Milford Board of Education approves the educational specifications for the roof replacement project at Mathewson Elementary School and authorize the superintendent to apply for state reimbursement from the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, Office of School Construction Grants, SCG. That the Milford Board of Education approves the plans, specifications, and estimates for the roof replacement project at Mathewson Elementary School. That the Milford Board of Education approves the educational specifications for the roof replacement project at Orchard Hills Elementary School and authorize the superintendent to apply for state reimbursement from the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, Office of School Construction Grants, SCG. Motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the plans, specifications, and estimates for the roof replacement project at Orchard Hills Elementary School. That the Milford Board of Education approves the educational specifications for the roof replacement project at Pumpkin Delight Elementary School and authorize the superintendent to apply for state reimbursement from the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, Office of School Construction Grants, SCG. That the Milford Board of Education approves the plan, specifications, and estimates for the roof replacement project at Pumpkin Delight Elementary School. That the Milford Board of Education approves the educational specifications for the window replacement project at Harborside Middle School and authorize the superintendent to apply for state reimbursement from the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services, Office of School Construction Grants, SCG. Motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the plans, specifications, and estimates for the roof replacement project at Harborside Middle School. I'm done.
Set? Okay. All in favor?
Oh, second.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the second. Mrs. Federico, all that reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Tobias.
Oh, you're welcome. And just for a point here, Jess just told me I said the roof at Harborside Middle School was a window.
Windows, okay, so we'll make that housekeeping correction. All right, so consent agenda's done with. Next order of business is we have one bit of new business. That's my piece. So just by way of some background, there was some questions arose last year as to why our budget workshops were not covered by the Milford Government Access Television Station. And the short answer is, while MGAC committed to covering our business and our COW meetings, our workshops were not in their budget. They received funding from, some funding from the city and some funding from a grant through the GATA grant and Cablevision. So after some discussion with them, they've indicated their willingness to cover our 3 budget workshops in January if we will cover the cost of the person who handles the productions. They did break down the costs for me, which comes to about $275 for an average 3-hour meeting. And knowing that our budget workshops often go long, we rounded it up a little bit, and they agreed that they would cover our 3 budget workshops for a cost of $1,000. So Mr. Richtelli indicated that there would be funding that we could find within this year's budget to allocate toward that if the board so chooses and feels that our budget really comes down to whether or not the board feels our budget workshop should be televised and covered by MGAT or not. And if we feel that way, we would have to allocate the money to make that happen. So I'm putting it to the board to see what your pleasure is in terms of that funding. Mr. Jagosinski?
I'm in favor of it. I think we should be as transparent as possible.
think our budget workshops can be very interesting
Right.
for the public. Any other
I agree.
questions on that?
I think a lot of stuff. I agree.
Can you make a motion, Ms. Tobias?
Can I just ask one question? If the workshops don't run long, would we go back to the 3 times 275, 700 and change?
It would just be a flat fee of $1,000 to them for the 3 workshops. A motion, Ms. Tobias?
I make a motion that the Board of Education approves $1,000 from the current budget to be used for an MGAT covering 3 live budget workshops.
There's a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so further discussion on this?
I would like to have a clause in there that if it doesn't run over, that it be reduced to the rate that they proposed.
Well, the agreement was $1,000, and they will sign a memorandum of understanding to that effect, that they will cover the 3 meetings for the $1,000. I think if there's additional monies, their budget is not sufficient to cover the meetings that they want to cover, and all year, and they do cover 2. They cover both of our COW and our business meetings. So for me, it was kind of a good faith to thank them for covering both of those meetings, even though they really have to make it work within their budget. So that was the agreement with them, was $1,000. That's what they came back to me, $1,000 for the 3 meetings. So that's what the figure is, and that's what the memorandum of understanding will say. If you don't agree with that, then I would expect that you might vote no for the motion, but that's what the agreement was. Mrs. Federico?
So 3 meetings covers what? If we needed a 4th workshop, it would not be covered?
Well, they have committed to our COW meeting, so typically we cancel our COW meeting in January because we've had so many budget workshops.
Okay.
So I think that, that would fall into that already.
Okay. So if you can refresh my memory, the 3 meetings is usually 2 workshops and a vote? Is that?
Well, it's 3 workshops, the 3rd of which typically includes the vote.
Okay.
So that's typically what we've done over the past years.
Okay. And if the meeting ran over, well, you already allocated 4 hours, right?
Yeah, I mean, the $1,000 will covers more than 3 hours. And my experience has been that our budget workshops tend to be long, so they conceivably can go longer than the 3 hours.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Mrs. Krasinski had her hand up. Oh, I know.
Okay. She answered it.
Okay.
If the meeting ran over, they're not going to charge us more?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. All right, so all in favor with the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
So roll call vote?
Claire Casey,
Yes.
Michael DeGrego,
Yes.
Jess Gregory,
No.
Suzanne DeBias,
Yes.
Jennifer Federico,
Yes.
Tom Jagosinski,
Yes.
Susan Krasinski,
Yes.
Earl Whiskeyman,
Yes.
Susan Glennon.
Yes.
8-0.
8-1.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion carries 8-1. All right, let's see, we'll move on to, we'll have board comment before we adjourn to executive session. Board comment, anybody have any board comment they'd like from Mr. Jagosinski?
Yeah, I'm going to send the members of the board a link to a New York Magazine article on pre-K education. There's been a study commissioned by the Department of Education and conducted by Vanderbilt University. And as far as I know, it's the first large-scale study on pre-K. And it involved 700 students and a 300-student control group. And they found that while students who went through pre-K were more prepared for kindergarten, there was no benefit by the 1st or 2nd grade. And in fact, the students who attended pre-K actually underperformed the control group on academics and in behavior. So, this is an idea that people have been promoting, but there are a lot of ideas in the education community that sound great and turn out, not to provide the benefits. So I think when we look at pre-K, we've got to be, take a very sober look at this issue. Yes.
Speaking to that study, I don't believe the samples were actually matched as far as socioeconomic status, the control and the experimental group, which may affect who chose to enroll their child in the pre-K programs they were studying.
Yeah.
Mr. DeGrego? Did you? Just to finish up this, you have something else you want to? Yeah, we have had a lot of discussion as a board regarding pre-K, and with some new members, it might warrant down the road to have another workshop, and so that we can have some germane discussion about, philosophically what this board is thinking in terms of.
Right, and also I would think looking at the research, I appreciate, that you're going to share that. I suspect that or I shouldn't say suspect, that there would be research that may contradict that. But I think it would be good for the board to be informed on what is the thinking around the pre-K. Absolutely. Because, obviously, it's not just even, the governor here, but it's been something that's been touted by most even politicians, regardless of which side of the aisle, about universal pre-K. Although I think the term universal pre-K is misunderstood by lots of people as well. Right. Yeah. So I think that it's good.
Yeah. Through you, the Head Start program, went on for 40 years, cost billions of dollars, and at the end of it, the studies concluded that it provided no long-term benefit. No one even references that. And, that was something that all the politicians were rushing into as well. So, I think we have to be very careful about rushing into these great new ideas. And again, I don't, this is one study, there may be other studies as well, but I think we have to be cautious on these things.
I think it's also looking at, what's the nature of the program.
Absolutely.
Which there's huge variations between and among programs. So, but that's really good that, that you would bring that forward.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Mr. DeGrego, you had board comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, on another matter. As mentioned before, Thursday, I was invited to Law High School for the Crime and Punishment class. And when I walked in, I did not expect the Vice President, Mr. Marco, to be sitting in there to listen to me.
Vice Principal?
Did I correct?
You said President.
I was not expecting that, and I got a little red from seeing Mr. Marco taking the time out to listen to me, and I was very glad of that. It was such a hit that I was asked to come back this Thursday. I'm going to do a fingerprinting demonstration as well. And to be fair, I talked to the principal at Foreign, and he said he would get back to me about coming to Foreign as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. The students obviously enjoyed it. I saw a little smile on that on her face when she was talking about it, so that's nice. It's nice that you do that. So, any other board comment? Yes, Mrs. Federico.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along with you, I attended the CABE conference last month, and I thought overall, it was just so informative. There was so much information, and you kind of sit down at the end and you try to digest everything. So I was just going through my notes tonight, and there was a couple of breakout sessions that I found very interesting that I wanted to share just a snippet on. One was the academy model. I believe it was Newington Public Schools. In their middle and high schools, they started with 5th through 8th grade, and then they've expanded it into their 9th through 12th grade, that they have different tracks, whether it's like biomedical or aerospace. They have like a couple of STEM type of tracks. And they start with those programs in middle school, and then they can move on to them in high school. What I liked about the program was that in high school it was offered to anyone. In middle school, they did it because their space was limited on a lottery-based system, and I know that's something that we probably have some concerns about doing because whatever we offer, we want to offer to everyone. But I thought it was a really interesting way for them to get some STEM programming into the middle school and high school. Obviously, there's costs involved. Obviously, they got some state funding to put in those types of, really rigorous and advanced programs, but it was a really neat and interesting model to hear about and learn about. The other breakout session that was interesting to me was collaborative action, where 4 superintendents got together from, I believe it was Meriden, Southington, Wallingford, and Cheshire. So they're all neighboring towns, and the 4 superintendents meet every month, couple of months, and they talk about what's going on in their district. And they've created connections between their staff so that their administrators can collaborate with administrators in the other districts, and they have somebody to bounce things off of. And they were able to achieve, a lot of brainstorming, find ways for cost savings, and, really accomplish a lot of stuff just by working with somebody else. And, one of the most important things that I heard from that was, well, if Cheshire's doing it, then it's okay, right? And we hear the same thing here because we're in Milford and we get compared to neighboring towns. But if you're working collaboratively and the neighboring town is already doing it, then it's easier to make change. They were talking about, things about technology and bring your own device. They kind of, really worked together as they were hammering out those kinds of policies. I thought it was really interesting. So those are 2 things I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mrs. Federico.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? I just want to remind the board too about the holiday concert list that we got in our Friday update. So concerts are very often very fun to go to, and I'm normally pretty impressed at what comes out of our schools in terms of the music that we're hearing. A motion, Mrs. Vice, to go into executive session.
I make a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss salaries for non-certified, non-union employees. And we invite into executive session Dr. Fieser, Mr. Riccitelli, and Mrs. Capasna.
Are you coming? Do you need to come? Mr. Burt? No? Oh, just the 3 of them. A second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will adjourn to executive session. Yes, we do come back here, because we have to come back here when we're done.
And that's going to be in the...
Learning Center? Or
Yep.
Betty, should we do Learning Center?
Yeah, I want to go.
Everybody back? Okay, we're going to reconvene at 9:42. Mrs. Device, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do. Okay, I make a motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the sum of $62,353 to be used for salary increases for 2016-17 for non-union employees at the discretion of the superintendent as discussed in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Federico has second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Very good. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Bias?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
That was a quick second. That's Mr. DeRosa's thing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.
And what's
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. I've just been writing it down. 9:33.
By next week. All that stuff. 10 days. 11 this morning.